I have been seeing a lot of people talking about our layered florals embossing folder, and they're like they're embossing it and then coloring it and then covering it with black ink, and it looks amazing. So I wanted to share that with you guys tonight, but I didn't want to use the same folder that everyone else has been using. So I thought, what other folders do I have? So I decided to go ahead and use this little set of 2. This is called the Elegant Eucalyptus 3D Embossing Folder Set. And it has this fun kind of spray in it. And I thought, I want to try that and see how that works. So what I did was, where are my papers? I went ahead and embossed a piece of white. So this is about 3 inches by 5 1/8 inches, and it fit in there perfectly. Okay. Is that the right way? No, it's backwards. But anyways, you guys get the gist. So I stuck it in, I kind of lined it up on my piece of paper, and then I ran it through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and this is what I get. Okay. So the trick to this card, or this technique, is you use the reverse side. So this is the embossed side. This is the raised side. So I'm going to start with the debossed side. So all the embossing goes down into the card. So I've left with like pits or holes, if you will. And so we're going to color in those pits and holes with our Stampin' blends. And I have decided to use Tahitian Tide and Granny Apple Green. So I decided to start with my Granny Apple. And I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see this as well as me, but I can definitely see where the indentions are. And I'm going to color in these indentions, and I'm going to color the whole thing. So I have already done that on another one, but I just kind of wanted to let you see how I'm going to do this. I'm not being perfect, number one. I'm just trying to see. I'm trying to copy the one that I already have colored, because I didn't want to, because this can take a little while to get this whole thing colored. Not going to lie. So that's my dark Granny Apple Green. Here's my light Granny Apple Green. So I'm going to do some of the leafy pieces here. So here's a little leaf, and these leaves have like a vein in them, and you would probably think that you shouldn't color over the top of them, but I found that it doesn't make any difference, and you absolutely can, because it makes it a lot easier if you can color over the top. So yeah, go ahead and color over the top of things that you might think, oh, I better not color that. You absolutely can. All right, where else are we going? There's a couple of leaves right down here, and it probably looks like I'm going outside the lines, and I am, but you know what? It doesn't really matter, I found. So we'll keep going here. We'll get some more of the green. This again is the light Granny Apple Green. I did the dark in the middle, and I know that the coloring on this looks horrendous right now, but hopefully when we're all said and done with this, it's going to be amazing. Hopefully. Okay, so I would have done, let's see, this leaf piece here. I got that one. I think that's all I did with that. So now I'm going to bring in my dark Tahitian Tide. And we're going to start down here with these little, I'm sure they're leaves, but we're going to pretend that they're flowers, because it's just going to make the card better than if it was all green. So again, I am definitely not a believer in that everything has to be colored when it's truly colored in nature. I don't care about that. If I'm making a cat card and the person I'm making it for likes purple, you can bet that the cat's going to be purple, because I don't care. So again, these are probably supposed to be eucalyptus, and they're probably supposed to be some shade of green, but you know what? That's not how I roll, so I'm not doing that. All right, so we've got some dark there. I think I was going to go up here with the dark as well. These little kind of eucalyptus-y things. And I mean, you could probably take a lot more care than I'm taking, and it might look better, but I don't know. I've kind of, the practicing that I did, it didn't really seem to matter all that much. But we'll see. Okay, so now I'm using the light Tahitian Tide, and there are these little, I don't even know what all this stuff is. Some kind of foliage. That's all I can tell you. That's all I know for sure. And these are supposed to be leaves, but you know what? In my world, they're Tahitian Tide. So I think you guys can get the gist of what I'm doing here, and you would just color in the whole thing however you want to color it in. You do what you want. until it's all done. So here's what I have. Okay. So I've got my dark granny apple. I did kind of come in and get some of these stems with my dark granny apple, the light Tahitian tide, the dark Tahitian tide. So everything is colored in. All right. So now the next step is to take a black memento pad and rub it all over this entire thing. Fine, not a problem. But what I kind of found is that if you're not kind of careful, that you can end up getting black maybe where you don't want it. So I kind of came up with this. I don't know how well it's going to work. I tried it once. It seems to work okay. I'm going to stick this back into my folder. So this is the debossed side of the folder. This is where the stuff is. Oh no, it's this side. This is where it's like pushed in. So if I was to take my piece of cardstock here, I can feel that it's kind of locked into its place. You can see that I'm not able to move it. So all of these indentions are pushed down into where they were on the folder. So if I was to actually close this up, this is how I ran it through my machine. Okay. So I have found, at least for me, because I'm a heavy-handed person, I just am. So again, I don't want to get ink on my glass mat because I'll mess it up. All right, so here's my black. This is my memento black. And what you do is you just kind of rub your pad over your image. Look at that. How cool is that? But I kind of feel like if you have it back in the folder, then it's going to help because you're pressing down. So you're kind of squishing the paper. And so you might actually be squishing it down, and then you might get some of the black. Like you can see, I'm already getting some in that leaf area, and that's not kind of the whole gist of this technique. But it's a mess. This does make a mess. It gets your fingers messy. You're going to be messy. So just be aware of that. But it is a pretty cool technique. So I'm just kind of rubbing all over my white, and I'm not using a very heavy hand. I'm trying to kind of be light-handed with it. Because if you're super heavy-handed, then you're going to get down into some of those grooves, and then it's going to kind of make a mess. So, all right. So now I'm going to take it out of my folder. Now remember, you are going to need to take your folder over to the sink and rinse it off. And you can see my hand is a mess too. Okay. So just be careful. And just, yeah. But it's pretty cool technique. And then the colors totally pop. So you can see when I was telling you about how I was going over the veins and the leaves, it didn't make any difference because when I brought the black in, the black kind of gets those veins. It kind of gets the veins back in, right? Isn't that fun? So let me grab a wipe because I've got ink all over my hands now. So you want to clean up. You want to let that dry a little bit. It does take a few seconds for it to dry because the ink will rub off. So you just want to make sure that it's dry. Okay, so I'm going to clean off my hands. I'm going to kind of shake that off. I'm going to put this wipe in my folder and put that somewhere else where it's not going to get me all inky. Okay, I'm going to put the lid onto this. Oh, I moved my cover thing. Anyway. So you kind of see how that works. Isn't that cool? And so like I said, I've seen it done with the layered leaves folder, and the cards were amazing. The layered leaves is the new folder in our catalog right now, the January to April catalog, and it makes the most beautiful things. But I wanted to try something different. So that's why I grabbed this. And so then my card is not going to be super complicated. So this is 3 by 5 1/8. I cut a piece of granny apple green to 3 1/8 by 5 1/4. And I'm going to end up adding this layer of beautiful black and green to this layer of granny apple green. Again, I'm trying to be careful because it can still be a little bit wet. So I don't want to end up getting a bunch of ink on my hands, which I'm then going to transfer, to the rest of my project. So I'm trying to be careful. See, I'm still getting a little bit of black, but I'm going to wipe them on my pajama pants because they're black. Okay. So then I thought that I would just add that to a layer of Tahitian tide and stamp myself a sentiment down here. I mean, like I said, I didn't want it to be super complicated because it's already a not complicated, but a time-consuming process. And so I have got, this is a fun stamp set. This is called Go To Greetings. It has the same sentiments in multiple fonts. If you don't have this, I highly recommend it. It's fantastic. So I am going to pull out, I think I'm going to go with the Thinking of You, because you know what? That's just kind of a card that you can use all the time. And here's a block. I wonder if I can get this centered. Well, we're going to try. We're going to see what happens. I'm going to bring in a scratch paper and my memento again. And I'm going to stamp it on this scratch paper just to see if my stamp is, it's crooked. So I know that I have to do something different with it now. Okay. So I'm going to stamp that down here at the bottom, about like so. That'll work. And then I'm going to attach this piece to the top. And I guess let's first, I guess I want it to go like this. All right, so we're going to get that on our card. And again, this the rest of the card, there's nothing fancy about it. I'm not adding any fancy details or anything like that. I'm just making a card because it does take a while to color all that in and all that good stuff. But you guys, I have some bonus pieces for you because I did do this in a different color combination. So let me find my lid to my pad here so that I don't, what the heck? Oh, here it is. I'm like, what did I do with my lid to my pad? That's, of course, typical Barb. Again, I'm going to wipe my hands off. Okay, so that is the eucalyptus folder. I did it again. This time I used, well, the Bubble Bath and the Moody Mauve ended up kind of looking the same. And then I used Old Olive. Now, I did get a little bit more black in the middle here than I really wanted, but I feel like I may have been a little more heavy-handed there. That's when I decided to push my piece of paper back into my folder. And so when I pushed it back into the folder this time, I got a little bit better. So I didn't get quite as much in there, you know. Okay. So then I also decided to use, we have that fruit folder, and I can't think of what it's called, but does fruit. And I did that one also using, this was Daffodil Delight, Flirty Flamingo, and Pumpkin Pie. And so I made this fun card. And then I did this one here where I got way too much black. You can see I really got heavy-handed with my black in my lemons, but I decided I was going to make it into a card anyway because it takes a long time to make that. So that's what I did with it. So I thought that was really fun. It's a very interesting technique. I hadn't seen it before. I saw Terry Gaines do it, and she did it with the layered leaves folder. And so I thought I didn't want to copy her, so I wanted to try something else. So that's why I use these other folders. But anyways, I hope you guys like that. I had a bunch of fun making them. Like I said, it was a lot of fun trying to come up with color combinations and whatnot. So enjoy that.